In today's hybrid world, making virtual work actually work is what separates the companies that are just surviving from the ones that are truly thriving. So how do you build a real system for it? Well, today we're diving into the CMMI 3.0 framework, which is basically a maturity model for business processes, and we're going to look at its specific guide for mastering remote work.
Okay, let's start with a really important question for you to think about. Is your remote team a well-oiled machine, or is it kind of just remote? Just a bunch of people working from home. The difference between those two things is what this whole explainer is about.
First off, there's been a really crucial shift here. The old version, CMMI v2.0, talked about enabling virtual solution delivery. It was all about the final product. But v3.0 expands this to enabling virtual work. And that's a huge change because it recognizes that the entire process, from brainstorming to customer support, can and does happen remotely. So what is enabling virtual work, or EVW at its core? Well, it's about being intentional. It's a framework to help you define and manage how your organization actually operates in a virtual setting. It's about creating a system that deals with the unique needs and, this is super important, the constraints of your remote and hybrid teams. To really get a handle on how to build this system, we're going to frame it as a journey. Let's call it a 3-level quest to achieve virtual work excellence. We're going to move from just basic survival all the way to a real strategic advantage. Here's our roadmap for this quest. We'll start at level 1, which is all about identifying needs and just getting started. Then we'll level up to level 2, where we start to plan and manage our approach. And our final destination? Level 3, where virtual work becomes a standard, organization-wide capability. Ready? Let's start at the beginning.
All right, welcome to level 1, the starting point. This is where most organizations begin their journey. And let's be honest, it's often because they have to. It's basically a reactive mode.
You can really think of level 1 as the triage stage. The main goal here is just to figure out what people need and what's stopping them, just so the work can keep going. It's all about putting out fires and immediate problem solving. So at this level, the process is super simple. You identify the immediate needs, you see what the constraints are, and then you just get the work done. It's really the bare minimum to keep the lights on. And here is a perfect real-world example of what this looks like. A manager just asking the most basic question. The need is a laptop, a constraint might be spotty Wi-Fi at home. The level 1 solution is just to find a quick fix for that one person so they can get back to work.
Okay, now let's level up. Moving on to level 2, we're going to see how this starts to build. This is where we make that big shift from being reactive to actually becoming proactive. We're moving from scrambling to structuring.
At level 2, we stop asking, can you work? And we start defining how we will work. It's all about developing a consistent, repeatable approach for a specific team or a project. This level really breaks down into 2 key things. First, you actually develop a plan, the rules of the road. And second, you monitor how that plan is going and you step in to fix things when they go off track.
Here's a great example of that first part. Instead of just hoping everyone communicates, you set up clear rules. We meet at 10 a.m. on Teams. All our files go into this specific folder on Google Drive. See, this defines the approach.
And this shows that second practice in action. The manager notices a recurring problem. Slow internet is hurting performance. The corrective action isn't just a one-time fix, it's a managed solution, like giving out a data dongle, to make sure the team can actually follow the rules you've set up.
And that brings us to the final level of our quest, level 3, strategic mastery. This is where virtual work stops being just a team-level process and transforms into a real organizational capability. So at level 3, we zoom out. The focus shifts from individual teams to the entire organization. We're now creating a standardized, company-wide strategy for virtual work to make sure there's consistency and quality across the board. The process here is really all about scaling up. First, you create and roll out that organization-wide strategy. Then, second, and this is so important, you constantly review how effective it is, using data to fine-tune and improve the whole system. This is exactly what level 3 looks like in the real world. It's not just one team deciding to use Teams. It's the entire company investing in corporate licenses for everybody. It's not just a manager's set of rules. It's an official, published work-from-home policy that applies to everyone. And here's how a truly mature organization gets better. It's not based on feelings, it's based on analysis. When the data shows that back-to-back meetings are crushing productivity, the organization acts on that insight. It implements a strategic policy, like no meeting Fridays, to make things better for everyone.
Okay, so as you think about building your own virtual work capability, what are the core things you need to consider? Let's take a look at the blueprint.
The CMMI points to 4 main pillars. And notice, it's not just about the tech. You have to think about your personnel, their well-being, their mental health. You have to think about the process, clear rules for communication. Then the technical stuff, hardware, software, and of course security. You've got to protect your data when it's outside the office.
And to make all this real, here are the key documents or artifacts you'll need to create. A formal policy, a clear communication plan, a list of who has what resources, and performance reports to track if your strategy is actually paying off. This is your practical toolkit right here.
You know, when you boil it all down, it comes to this one simple but really powerful idea. The whole point of enabling virtual work is to reduce the distance. And not just the physical distance, but the distance in communication, in collaboration, and in effectiveness.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Is your organization just surviving with remote work, or is it strategically thriving? The choice, and now the framework to get there, are both yours. Thanks so much for joining me.